This is Steve Nelson with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City with a special briefing on heavy rain and flooding associated with the moisture from Hurricane Joaquin, made at 3:15 p.m. October 2nd. Our big message with this briefing continues from yesterday that regardless of the forecast path of Joaquin, which isn't even expected to make landfall in the United States, that very heavy rainfall and flooding will be likely across Georgia, especially in the northeast and eastern sections of the state. And here's the 2 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center in Joaquin. As mentioned, there's not much chance of landfall in the United States on the coast. It's already taking a north turn, even though the system is currently very strong. It should be weakening over the next 48 hours and continuing to move off to the northeast. So why are we seeing a heavy rain threat with a tropical cyclone and hurricane well offshore from the east coast and pretty far away from Georgia? It has to do with an upper level low pressure system. It's quite strong. You're looking at a forecast from 4 different computer models essentially showing the same thing. About 36 hours from now, on Saturday evening around 8 p.m., it's forecast to be somewhere in South Georgia, possibly even as far south as northern Florida. When that pattern occurs, we tend to get a lot of rainfall to the north, but unfortunately when you combine that with moisture from Joaquin being pumped into this scenario, we're going to see a lot of rainfall. We're still seeing forecasts from our computer models of over a foot of rain in parts of South Carolina. So those are why you're seeing big totals from some of our official forecasts in the Weather Service for this area. Hopefully this will not affect all of the state. Mainly we're seeing the biggest threats in the north and east part of the state, although that one computer model that you're looking at in the upper left, the quadrant, it is kind of showing more of a enhanced threat over the rest of the state. So we have some uncertainty in the location of where this rainfall will set up. It's not a guarantee it's all going to stay to our north of the Atlanta area, for instance. If you're in Atlanta, you should still pay attention. Also, there in the corner, I've mentioned that smaller bands will likely develop. There may be even more localized areas of rain than what we're forecasting, and it could be higher than these amounts. Some areas could be less if you happen to be south of those bands. Here's a forecast that we've got out as it stands at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. You're looking at the latest Weather Prediction Center forecast here on the left, showing up to 13 inches there in South Carolina, and that gradient of high amounts of rainfall in northeast Georgia. The purple and red shading, for instance, is about where we see the 2 to 3 inches kick in and get into the orange. You're talking about 4 to 6. So very heavy rain is what we're looking at over the next 3 days through Monday. Got an image on the right that basically shows the same thing, just a little zoomed in so you can see it better, and some locations for specific cities. And again, this is our best estimate. There could be areas where a band sets up and repeatedly goes over the same areas, so we could see higher amounts than this if you're in the wrong spot. We're especially vulnerable to flooding because of the rain we've seen in the last 2 weeks. You're looking at an image showing up to 200 to 250% of normal of what we would normally see in this 2-week period on the screen, especially northeast Georgia there. Notice that area of purple. These are the kind of things we're concerned about with heavy rain that's forecast on top of already saturated soil. Forecasters at the Southeast River Forecast Center here in Peachtree City have already made forecasts of river flooding based on expected rainfall. So the points you're seeing on the map here are likely going to experience flooding at some points. These are major points. Of course, there could be flooding in many areas. These are mainly for larger rivers and streams. But just be aware, it's already the potential we're seeing of what kind of impacts from flooding we'd see from the expected rainfall are already being demonstrated, in some cases up to major flooding. Even within our office, we were able to make some contingency forecasts based on the forecast rainfall. This point here at Helen and the Chattahoochee River, many people are familiar with this area. We're forecasting based on the expected rainfall at the time, maybe some minor flooding. So hopefully if we can keep the rainfall under control, we won't see flooding that bad, but if it gets worse, it could be higher than this. And here's the same contingency forecast, this one near Hiawassee, showing near moderate flooding if we get the amount of rain we're looking at in that area, which would be between 4 and 6 inches. If we see rainfall more than that, we could expect even higher stages on the Hiawassee River near Hiawassee. I just spoke with our meteorologist who finalized the forecast and confirmed that this area of green that we issued a flash flood watch earlier today is still in effect, and it's going to be in effect through at least Sunday evening. So in summary, even though Joaquin is not expected to make landfall on the East Coast, we're going to see significant impacts in the state, mainly in the form of heavy rainfall and flooding. If you're planning any outdoor activities on Saturday, especially if you're going to any football games, please pay attention to the forecast. Do not drive into any flooded areas. Be aware of your surroundings. This is going to be a pretty serious situation. 2 to 6 inches of rain is going to be expected over most of the state, especially when you get over into northeast Georgia and the Savannah River Valley. Higher confidence in that area as well. This panning out, if you're lucky, maybe in the west central part of the state, we won't see quite as much. With the heavy rain, by the time we get to late Saturday night, and Sunday, steep terrain areas of northeast Georgia could see what we call debris flow or landslides, mudslides. These can close roads and cause a lot of disruption, can even affect houses if they're widespread enough. So pay attention to that, especially if there are warnings issued for flash floods. Sometimes landslides and debris flows can occur when those warnings for flash flooding are issued. Wind should not be a problem with Joaquin, although they will be kind of strong, 10 to 15 miles per hour throughout the weekend. Saturday night it could increase to 15 to 20 miles per hour in some areas. So with the waterlogged soils, we might even see a few trees down. So that's in a nutshell. Hopefully everyone's paying attention to the weather this weekend and stay safe.